After the weekend of losses, LSU is now ranked 25. The Tigers have another crucial series starting Thursday in Alex Box. After their loss to Southern, their overall record is 20-10, and in the SEC, they're 2-7, putting the Tigers in a must-win situation. They need to sweep, but they have to beat number 6 Vanderbilt. Can LSU put together 3 outfielders that can hit 275 or higher? What will Coach Jay Johnson be doing with the lineup for Thursday's game? Can Thatcher Hurd turn around and come back this weekend better than last weekend? What all needs to click for this team to get them back on track? This is Camryn Conner, your host, and after this commercial from our sponsor, you'll be with former LSU baseball pitcher and longtime sports broadcaster Ronnie Rantz to talk about this weekend with the news and sports director of the Louisiana Radio Network, Jeff Palermo.
I think that most people that contact the 9-Day Lifeline are looking to be heard and to feel seen.
Anybody that calls here to talk about anything that has them upset, we will talk to them.
Even on our chat and text services, you will be actually chatting and texting with a real person.
We have enough resources to be able to help people in any type of situation.
We have helpline specialists that are trained to handle the variety of calls that we get.
It's a very laid-back thing. We're not judging anybody. We're just a listening ear that some people don't have.
Ronnie, thanks a lot for joining us. As Ronnie is joining us on the Max Home hotline. Max Home, over 50,000 Max happy homeowners and counting. Ronnie, thanks again for joining us here tonight. How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks for having me.
Well, it's good to have you on. Always great talking with you. What's your biggest takeaway from last night's 12-7 loss?
Biggest takeaway is the Tigers are in a serious world of hurt as a team. I mean, everybody was trying to, spin it that, hey, they're 2-7, but man, they've played the number one team in the country, and they played Florida, who was picked to win the East. They've just had this brutal schedule. They were one, good inning away from beating Mississippi State, and they tried to okay, well then what's the, Southern has a losing record, and you lost to a guy who had a 12 ERA, who was the winning pitcher, and so now what's the spin? And the problem is that this team is just not very good right now. They lose. It's a bad team. They lose. Sometimes they hit, sometimes they pitch. They rarely do both. It's not like it's, the pitching's great and the offense is struggling, or the hitting's great and the pitching's struggling. It's depending on the night. It's one thing or the other. It might be the defense at times. So they have they're in a world of hurt. I don't know if you heard this, but Jay Johnson announced today that no cell phones allowed in the locker room and the dugout.
Well, I was going to ask you about that, Ronnie, because one of the things he said last night is we're going to have some new rules, and I was going to ask you what new rules could he possibly implement in order to change things. But so the cell phones and we're talking about in the locker rooms as well, right?
Yeah, I mean, basically leave your cell phone in your car.
Yeah.
I love it. As an old 51-year-old get off my lawn guy, who's old school, I love it. And there's going to be people sitting on their stool looking around the locker room for the first time ever, because most of the time they sit on their stool and they just stare down at their phone, So I think it's a good thing. Look, you got to try something, right? I mean, because, they work hard, they practice hard, they got coaches that are really good coaches. They got really good players, guys that are going to be in the big leagues one day. I mean, they should have a good team, and they're not playing well, and they're having problems. And quite frankly, they probably don't know really what's going on, but you got to change it up. You can't just do the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. Right. And so I like it. I like the trying to kumbaya, bring this team closer together. I think that's a good thing.
Talking with Ronnie Rantz on the Max Home hotline. Ronnie, what is the first thing that kind of needs to click for this team to get it back on track?
Throw strikes. They had 23 walks over the weekend. They had 6 or 7 walks last night as a staff. As a pitching staff, make the other team have to get 3 hits in an inning to beat you. Don't walk one, the leadoff batter, let them get to second, and then they get one hit, and then you give up a run. Like, make them get 2 and 3 hits in an inning to score runs. That's the key. And so if I'm going to pick one thing, and they got a lot of things, but if I got to pick one thing that they have to do better, is they have to throw strikes.
Then on the flip side of that, Ronnie, is finding a leadoff man. Is that maybe number one on the list to do there?
I think the leadoff man thing is a little overrated because they don't steal anyway.
Yeah.
Jay Johnson doesn't run.
But to set the table for guys like White, Travinsky, and Jones,
yeah,
more consistency there.
It would be nice. It would be nice. I don't necessarily have a problem with probably putting Bingham there at the moment. I mean, I know you didn't have a good night last night, but they don't have a lot of guys that are having good nights, period. And, when you talk about Jones and Travinsky and White, I mean, these are slow, and Milazzo, these are slow runners. Even Braswell is probably the slowest infielder in the SEC. And so they don't have a lot of speed. And one of the guys that they do have a little bit of speed with is Bingham. He can run. He's a center fielder. He can go get it. So, I think there's a better chance that Bingham is going to hit 310 this year than anybody else not named the big 3 or 4 we mentioned.
The East Baton Rouge Library says this is the year to invest in you. The library brings value by connecting you to information, resources, materials, technology, and experiences. We make a positive difference in your life. All you need is your library card. Stop by one of our 14 locations, open 7 days a week, or find us online at ebrpl.com.
Is getting a guy like Paxton Kling critical for this team to turn things around? Or is there another guy that you say, hey, if they can get Josh Pearson going, or if Ashton Larson just kind of takes off and has a huge second half, I mean, who's the guy that needs to really be impressive for him?
Well, I think we have to limit our expectations, right? And so when you say be impressive, can LSU put together 3 outfielders that can hit 275 or higher? That's let's just set the bar at a reasonable expectation. Hit 275. And, right now Pearson's hitting below 250, which is shocking to me because the guy hit 299 with 9 homers as a true freshman and has had great moments as a Tiger. And so I don't know what's going on. I don't know why. This is now 2 years in a row that he's hit around 240. And to me, he's so much better a hitter than that. And it's got to be, I'm sure it's super frustrating for him. It's got to be frustrating for the coaches. And so is who of the group can turn things around and maybe and you hit 275. We're not asking too much. 275. I think Bingham obviously has got to be the guy in center, and then left and right. Can it be Fry? Can it be Larson? Can it be Pearson? I think Kling is too far gone. I mean, he's 180, 190,
188.
Really bad. I think he's probably too far gone to right now. The confidence is shot. Ken Brown, who's had limited at bats, can he? I don't know the answer. I think you just keep rolling them out, and you just do day by day. Whoever's got good at bats and good approaches, you leave them in there for the next day.
Let me ask you one other question here on pitching, and we'll let you go, Ronnie. Thatcher Hurd, can you turn him around? Go ahead.
I think he's a reliever. I think Thatcher Hurd has got to be in that same role he was last year. Middle reliever, setup guy, something like that. I can't trust Thatcher Hurd as a starter. But who can I trust? Can I trust Griffin Herring?
Yeah.
I think you've got to, right? I think right now Griffin Herring's the best pitcher over the last month of the season.
Right.
And so I got Holman, I got Jump, and I got to try Griffin Herring. The problem with doing that, though, is, okay, who do you pitch in relief if you take Griffin Herring out of there? I got a little confidence in Guidry. I got confidence somewhat in Ackenhausen. And after that, it is just flip a coin. But that's what I would do right now. I think Griffin Herring deserves to have a start.
Yeah, Justin Lohr, that's been a bit of a disappointment, wouldn't you say?
I think there's been a lot of disappointments. I mean, look, they thought they had 1 through 19 the most talented arms LSU has ever had. And they're probably still not wrong, even with the production being questionable. I mean, look at Cam Johnson and Moffitt. They will be the future. It's just, can they be the future this month or next month, or is the future next year? But they both are, mid-90s to upper 90s guys, left side, right side. They are the future. They've got lots of guys that are talented, but they're not doing it yet consistently, and they're desperate to find 3 or 4 arms out of that bullpen that they can count on.
It's your time to move things forward. U.S. Army Reserve.
All right, that's it for today's episode. Stay tuned to TigerRag.com for more LSU sports updates. Watch out for the assistant editor of Tiger Rag, Will Nichols' piece previewing this baseball series and his stories throughout the series, and I'll be back later.